All right, so for those of you just joining us, we're hanging out with Chip Zdarsky, who is not wearing pants.
No, I'm not. Like I mentioned before, this is a protest going pantsless because Howard the Duck originally didn't have pants. But then Disney told Marvel that they needed to put pants on him because of a certain Donald the Duck.
So you're doing the writing for Howard the Duck right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you know all this stuff before you started writing, or since you've been given kind of the reins of this almost legendary comic character, like, did you learn all this stuff? No, he is. I say that because, like, he's got this mystique around him with the movie that I saw when I was a kid, but I didn't realize that there was this whole comic book fascination with this cigar-smoking, foul-talking duck.
I like the idea that a terrible movie is mystique.
It totally is.
It's a good way to sell that movie.
Dude, I didn't even realize that there was the comic.
What?
Totally.
Call yourself a nerd?
I totally do.
Wearing a comic shirt and
I
everything?
know.
Makes me
Cover
sick.
Comics in Edmonton.
Can I just leave? Am I allowed to leave?
No, you have to stay.
Okay.
So were you a big Howard the Duck fan before you started writing it?
Yeah. As a kid, like, I had a weird Uncle Fred. I don't know if you had a weird Uncle Fred.
No, I am the weird Uncle Fred.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, yeah, I didn't even think. Yeah, so, man, my uncle named Fred, he was an old hippie, and he collected all, like, Robert Crumb comics and, like, Howard the Duck stuff, like, things that were just kind of off the beaten path. And as a kid, I would sneak in to his, like, library, and I'd read the Howard books. And, yeah, like, a few years ago, he bequeathed all the old magazines to me, which were Howard, but a little bit dirtier. There was some boob. There was a bit of boob.
So Howard the Duck had that sort of, like you're saying, that Robert Crumb indie feel, but yet was done by Marvel at the same time.
Yeah.
And so when did this whole thing with him in the pants actually go down?
Ooh, I think it was just a few years after he debuted. He became really popular in the comics, like, for a while. And got onto Disney's radar, because clearly they were poking fun at Donald. And I got to see, like, Marvel sent me all, like, the legal documents about, like, oh, what color his feathers have to be, you know, how big his eyes have to be, which is so funny, because Disney bought Marvel.
So you'd think that they would have, like, let the reins loose a little bit on that.
I feel like when their company's that big, like when there's legal things just kind of floating out there, there's like, well, just leave that stand.
So now you said you got into the comics from your uncle who had this massive collection.
Yeah.
When you started going out and buying your own comics, was Howard the Duck something that you really loved, or did you get into other things?
Well, he kind of disappeared by the time I was like out there buying the comics. Like, he was already off the radar. You know, in the 80s, like the mid-80s when the movie came out, that kind of killed it. Like, I was about grade 6 at the time, and I enjoyed the movie at the time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Lea Thompson. I have an erotic fixation on her. There is a scene with the duck with breasts, which makes no sense.
Because when you said the boobs in the comic, that was the first thing that I thought of, was that one scene with she's in the tub and it falls through,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my parents didn't watch it with me because they're like, it's called Howard the Duck. Like, the kids can watch it. Leave the kids alone.
We watched that at my, like, 9th birthday, and there was, like, 10 of us, you know, what the heck was that?
I feel like in the 80s, there were all those, like, weird movies where it was like hidden sex, where like parents would never know unless they sat down and watched it with the kids.
And it's kind of the opposite now, where they do these kids movies with hidden jokes for adults, so when adults watch them, they get to enjoy them too. What was the superhero that you really gravitated towards?
Oh, I think like every kid was Spider-Man, because he was just a loser, just like me, just an absolute horrible.
You're a great guy.
No,
yes,
I hate
totally.
myself. My first girlfriend was a redhead. I'm positive because of Mary Jane.
Really?
My current girlfriend's a redhead. I'm positive because of Mary Jane.
So when you started writing comics and creating your own stuff, though, were you really heavily influenced more by the underground Robert Crumb stuff and Howard the Duck, or the Spider-Man stuff?
It was probably a combination of everything. I think myself and Matt, my co-writer on Sex Criminals, we kind of grew up the same way, at the same time. We're the same age. We had all the Marvel stuff as a kid. We got into alternative stuff when we were older. So when we actually sat down to make our own books, it's like, well, it's going to be a combination of all those, right? Like, Sex Criminals is still like weird powers and comedy and stuff, but there's like actual emotional resonance and scenes of characters growing and learning, and there's reality to it, which you wouldn't necessarily find in kind of 80s Marvel books, but you would find in like Ghost World or something like that, you know? Yeah, there seems to be like a new wave of comic creators that kind of pulls from all these different places just to create things that they want to read.
Now, creating comics now, it just feels like it can be a bit of a prickly business because you're so connected to the fans and the people that read them. And there's always the idea of like sex positive, female positive issues that are coming up again and again and again, and having those strong female characters. And Sex Criminals is always getting listed as a real positive comic. Now, when you were creating it and you guys were working on this together, was that something you really had at front of mind when you're working on it?
Well, when we started working on it, before As You Win came out, we're talking about story. Originally, it was about the main male character, and it just kind of clicked that it was like, it's too easy. What we're doing is too easy. We're writing about like a white straight dude jerking it, and we're just a couple of white straight dudes.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. Big fan. So we realized that we should switch it to the female protagonist, and as soon as we did that, we kind of fell in love with her, and we were protective of her, and we were protective of the people that she's based on, and we're older. Like most of the people I know are women, at least half.
Yeah.
At least half. So you want to represent their journey.
Is it hard though? Like, is it harder creating for a female character than a dude? And I always say that when I'm writing and stuff because I know what it's like to be a dude, like what you're talking about.
Do you really?
There are times.
All right,
Not when I watch sports though. I feel really emasculated. But like, how do you get into that mindset of writing a believable character of somebody that you're not?
You listen. I mean, you listen to the women in your life. Like, I know this sounds kind of serious, but I think that's mostly it. Like, I think when a lot of guys sit down to write women, they're just like, they have their idea of women running through their head. But, you know, if you're married, you have a sister, you have best friends that are women, like, listen to them. And, you know, most of the credits to Matt because he did that. Like, he really kind of gathered a lot of stories and made sure he was representing women in such a way that women would see themselves reflected back, right? It's not that hard. Like I said, half the people on this planet are women. Maybe talk to them.
I think more than half.
Oh yeah, it's like 51% or something like that, yeah.
Now, you talking about Matt Fraction, like, I lead into this because you read so many comics, it feels like you're not seeing anything new, you're not seeing anything fresh, and then you see something like, when I saw him take a stab at Hawkeye, I was super impressed because I didn't think you could do something new with a character like that, especially with all the pressure of the movies and the way he is and whatnot, but it feels like a 70s French crime movie when you read that. Now, for you, what's the last comic you read, aside from Sex Criminals, that really just blew your mind in terms of just doing something a bit new?
It's probably Hawkeye, actually. It's a comic where I love it and I'm jealous of it because David, the artist on that, is so good. And so when I read that and I have to go and work on Matt Fraction's other book, I'm just like, God
it's
damn,
the panel
why can't
layouts.
I be? Oh, yeah, he's stunning.
Now, does he, when he's writing those scripts, because you've worked off of his scripts, is he breaking it down panel by panel, or is he just saying, this page has to include here and end here?
You know, at first he did kind of break it down a bit more because I'd never done anything like this before. So I actually asked him, write full script. But we're on issue 10 now, so it's a bit more easy back and forth. Like, I think he trusts me more with like angles and pacing and stuff. He's a generous lover, generous writer. Like, he is my light. He's my star. He's my sun, my moon.
Scoop light.
Yeah.
So, before I let you go, if you could work with any other creator, either in a writing or art fashion, who would it be?
Jack Kirby, but he's gone.
Jack Kirby, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got many shirts with Jack Kirby Captain America on them.
Oh, so good.
Dude, thank you for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Great to meet you, man.
It's a pleasure.